We found that about 1 in 3 older dolphins were developing aging-associated conditions like us, fatty liver disease, insulin resistance. And that's where we found, surprisingly, C15 was one of the top predictors of the healthy aging dolphin. The same association we saw in dolphins popping up in humans. Here you have a dolphin veterinarian coming in saying a saturated fat is it's essential to our diet. Sus, right?
Welcome to Inside the Formula, a Supco original series where we go behind the science of supplements that have earned the Tested by Supco certification. Each episode, I sit down with the formulators, chemists, and scientists behind these products to find out what it actually takes to make a supplement that works. I'm Jordan Glenn, head of science here at Supco. My guest today is Dr. Stephanie Venn-Watson. Stephanie is the co-founder and co-CEO of Serafina Therapeutics, where she oversees the production of fatty 15. A veterinary epidemiologist who has worked for the WHO, DARPA, and the Navy, Steph has authored over 80 peer-reviewed publications and has over 80 patents. Steph's discoveries have been featured on NPR Science Friday, BBC, NBC, and National Geographic. And her groundbreaking discoveries around C15 are the topic of her best-selling Simon & Schuster book, The Longevity Nutrient. Steph was recently named a 2025 CNBC Changemaker. Before we begin, an important reminder. Tested by Supco is an independent certification program that Supco offers as part of our business model. Brands featured in this series have paid fees to have their products analyzed by the tested program, which tests the products that consumers actually buy to verify their active ingredient claims. Test results are published transparently, pass or fail, and cannot be influenced. Today's episode includes a brand partner. And now, my conversation with Dr. Stephanie Venn-Watson. Steph, thank you so much for being here. We're excited to have you. I'm learning about fatty 15. I think this is so exciting. The science you guys are doing is it's fantastic.
Great, Jordan. It's great to be here. I mean, so it's wonderful to be able to talk about fatty 15, talk about the science, and to be able to talk about with regard to Supco and raising the bar, helping consumers to be able to really look through their supplement stack and choose the best. We're super excited about that.
I also just think it's cool that you got to work with dolphins, Stephanie. I think the fact that all of this comes from and I'm being very genuinely, the fact that you got to work with animals, you taken this veterinarian piece just so far into the human world. I can't imagine you ever expected this would happen. It's just a very cool story.
Yeah, it's been great with the dolphin. I mean, who would have thought, right? It's like, and then add on top of that, Jordan, I don't know how to swim and I'm terrified of water. Like nobody would have predicted that this was going to happen. But I am incredibly grateful. It's part of what we call One Health. And this is where there's a true belief, and we think this is such a great example, that by taking good care of applying these advanced technologies we have to help humans, to apply them to animals to help them. Like it doesn't need to be a 0 or 1, either we're helping animals or people. This is such a great story where this was a true intent of helping to continually improve Navy dolphin health, had the spin out benefit of helping people too. It doesn't get better than that.
Okay, Steph, take us back to the beginning. You were literally running a health and aging research program to improve the life of Navy dolphins. What were you actually working on, and how did that leave you here?
Yeah, so there I was. Jordan, it's one of those unexpected stories, right? This whole thing was a surprising discovery, which is kind of the best one sometimes. But so as a veterinary epidemiologist, I was actually working for CDC, World Health Organization, helping to set up disease surveillance systems all over the world. And then I was unexpectedly recruited by the Navy 24 years ago to help continually improve the health and welfare of Navy dolphins. So I thought I'd be there for a couple of years. I'm like, gosh, go to San Diego, take care of dolphins. This is awesome. Ended up being there for over 20 years, which is incredible. And basically, long story short, learned that when we looked at these aging dolphins at the Navy live a lot longer than dolphins in the wild. Like in the wild, they live to about 20. At the Navy, they're living routinely to 40 to 50, with some dolphins turning 60 years old this past year. We found that about 1 in 3 older dolphins were developing aging-associated conditions like us, fatty liver disease, insulin resistance, chronic inflammation. And we then were able to use Office of Naval Research funding to use metabolomics to study thousands of small molecules to see which small molecules in their diet and their blood predicted the healthiest aging dolphins. And Jordan, that's where we found, surprisingly, C15 was one of the top predictors of the healthy aging dolphins. And then all of a sudden we're like, what's C15? That's how it all started.
So I'm also learning for the first time that the Navy has dolphins. So like all of this is fascinating to me. And so you discover this concept of C15. When did C15 stop being just like a data point that you're seeing in research and start feeling like something that you really could bring to the world?
Right. So when we were looking at this, it was, association, right? So dolphins with higher levels of CFIT associated with, of healthier agers. It was really then two things happened, Jordan. The first is we then moved C15, pure C15 into the lab. And we started doing the work to say, is it not just associated with, but cause? So we did a series of 8 studies over 3 years with Dr. Ed Dennis, who was the editor in chief for the Journal for Lipid Research for over 15 years. And we did a series of studies. And at the end of it, at the end of all those studies, we showed that C15 is not just an active fatty acid, but that it was meeting the criteria, these rare criteria of the first essential fatty acid to emerge in over 90 years. That was a huge moment with Ed Dennis, right? Helping to reach that conclusion. And then the other was that we were seeing at the same time the same association we saw in dolphins popping up in humans. Large population studies in humans showing that the higher the C15 they had, the lower the risk they had of developing things like type 2 diabetes and heart disease. So all of a sudden, we just saw this wonderful merger of this is an opportunity not only to help dolphins, but humans too. So big major unlocks on those fronts.
And what I think is so interesting, so C15 is not only a fatty acid, it's technically a saturated fat. And the nutritional establishment, as we all know, has been decades trying to treat saturated fat or get it out of our diet, et cetera. How do you communicate now this finding, this saturated fat that is showing so much promise for aging and health, but really goes directly against this consensus that we all know without it feeling motivated? How do you get that point across?
Right. I mean, so like here you have a dolphin veterinarian coming in saying a saturated fat is it's essential to our diet. Sus, right? So it was really important to us. We invested many years in the science before we even thought of bringing C15 to the market as a supplement. So this was really, an unexpected discovery. And we were initially advancing C15, Jordan, as a potential therapeutic for fatty liver disease and anemia. So we were really going down the road of like, we need to get the highest quality pure C15 ingredient. We needed to understand the mechanisms of action, the pharmacokinetics, bioavailability, and, understand how it works in the body. And then obviously then getting to clinical trials. So we really took responsible time to be able to provide those answers. So at the end of the day, we actually had one of our advisors say, okay, Eric and stuff, co-founders, husband, wife team, you have enough information. It's time to bring C15 to the world. So that's the way you get through going against a mantra that we've been taught for our lives is to be able to provide the peer-reviewed scientific literature to back it up. Importantly now, over 100 peer-reviewed studies on C15's benefits that go far beyond our humble 6 studies. So very excited that the world really needed to play it out too.
Yeah, and so you're bringing C15 to market, and not only are you bringing this novel fatty acid to market, you also describe C15 deficiency as potentially a brand new deficiency syndrome, one of the first we've seen in maybe, 70 years? Where does the evidence stand on that right now, and how do we fill in those gaps?
Right. So this is a huge stake to put in the ground, right? First to say that something is essential. There are only two other essential fatty acids. To say that we found the third, and then to say, wait, there's a deficiency syndrome. Those are huge stakes to put in the ground. So again, we work through peer-reviewed science and literature. And importantly, if something is essential, technically, there should be a deficiency syndrome if we don't get enough of it. So to your point, Jordan, what you said earlier, where C15, we've actually decreased our intake of C15 over the past 50 years because our primary source of C15 is from dairy fat. So we've gone through this, 50-year experiment of taking C15 out of our diets, inducing low C15 levels, which has then resulted in parallel specific pathophysiology of a disease that is co-occurring in humans and dolphins. So what we published in Metabolites in 2024 isn't just, oh, low C15 equals deficiency, you should take our supplement. It was instead a very responsible, methodical approach to showing C15's job is to strengthen our cell membranes. If our C15 levels are low, those cell membranes become weak, including our red blood cells. That results in increased engulfment of these weak red blood cells by our liver, results in iron overload, a new form of cell death called ferroptosis, which was discovered by scientists at Columbia University in 2012. That then results in an entirely new syndrome that was recently named called metabolic hyperferritinemia by a completely different team in a consensus report, which is exactly what we saw in the dolphins. So the ability to show in animal models that's been reconfirmed by a second team of the whole pathophysiology of the syndrome with ours, and now with human studies coming out supporting it. It's a something that needs to happen over a responsible period of time. But wonderfully, it's been 10 years, Jordan, and so what we're seeing is just continuing growth and support behind this is real. We need to get C15 back into our diets and help to fix this whole new form of cell death.
And so you mentioned ferroptosis. I think one of the things that I think I understand is that this has been known in animal models for a long time, and we're only now starting to either investigate it or understand it in humans. Why do you think it's taken so long to really make this translation from the animal to the human world?
Right. And so when people were looking when Columbia University that looked at ferroptosis, they were using this model, a rat model that was used in for fatty liver disease. So a lot of work, right? Fatty liver disease, non-alcoholic form, now called MASLD, and MASH. This is now present in 38% of people globally. So it went from the first 30 cases identified by Mayo Clinic in 1980 to 38%, 14% of kids have this condition. So you have this condition that came up out of nowhere. The animal studies, as you correctly pointed out, they noticed that there was a form of cell death associated with this liver disease, and they called it ferroptosis, defined as weakened fragile fatty acids in the cell membrane that then leads to this cell death. What we now know, there are over 20,000 peer-reviewed papers on ferroptosis since that discovery in 2012, and we understand that it is happening, people, that has this iron overload component of what I had just described for the deficiency syndrome. This form of cell death is happening in people. It manifests itself as these high levels of ferritin hyperferritinemia, hence metabolic hyperferritinemia is ferroptosis. So there are clinical trials ongoing to look for therapeutics to treat ferroptosis in people. And we're understanding it's this package, seeing this high ferritin, high iron, metabolic, issues with type 2 diabetes and spillover to the liver and the heart. That is all coming together at the same time. Exciting time to be able to intervene on something that may be impacting as many as 1 in 3 people globally.
I think that's amazing. One of the links I see commonly or hear commonly, you hear fatty acid and immediately you think omegas, DHA,
Right.
EPA, but C15 is a stable fat. It's not an oil. It doesn't really oxidize the way EPA, DHA do. How does this different kind of stability profile shape how you think about formulation, shelf integrity, essentially the product itself?
Right. So it's a really, really important point that you call out. So both C15 and omegas are fatty acids. So, and we should be thinking about them in the same. So fatty acids play a role in helping with our cell membrane structure of cellular signaling. They're really important. There are key differences, like you pointed out, which is that C15 has no double bonds in its structure, and which makes it stable and particularly resistant against attack by oxygen. So that then explains how C15 has this protective role on our cell membrane because it is specifically it's like putting bricks into your cell membrane to make it resistant against this attack by oxygen. This is really important because one, it's the foundation of ferroptosis. Those fragile, if you have fragile fatty acids, increased lipid peroxidation. This is protecting against that. It's an important balance. We also, from a formulation standpoint, are lucky because it's not only helps stabilize our cell membranes, it's stable in the bottle. So it is a pure powder at room temperature that doesn't need to be refrigerated. It doesn't oxidize. It doesn't go bad. So it is a powder that has no taste, no smell, and we only need little amounts of it in order to meet our daily what is emerging as daily requirements.
So thinking about formulation, I know this is something that comes up a lot with all supplements and how they're made. Walk me through internally your quality process, essentially from raw material to finished product on a shelf. Where do you decide to put the most scrutiny? How do you make sure that what happens at conception is what's ending up on the line.
Yeah, every step of the process is important for us. So we had the good fortune. Again, we were initially developing this as a drug. So when we went out to find manufacturers for it, this was all under Office of Naval Research support to basically go develop this molecule that could be used for routine use. So we went to the highest level manufacturer of CGMP facility that could develop a pure C15 molecule. And this is like greater than 99% pure, even after 5 years of testing. So we went to the highest quality manufacturers. Interestingly, we had to find one that was not only the highest quality from a pharma grade, but as soon as we understood we were going to put this in as a advance it as a supplement, it also had to be meet food grade standards.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to find facilities that met all of those. These facilities are the absolute highest standard. We go there ourselves. We've seen them. Every batch is individually tested and goes through numerous tests to ensure that the ingredient that's in Fatty 15 is exactly the same ingredient that's been used in all these great, 100 plus studies. They all use, for the most part, this pure C15 ingredient. So what you get in Fatty 15, it matches what the science supports.
So I love that. And third-party testing has really become such a buzzword. The rigor behind it is all over the place. What does independent verification actually mean for your brand? And why did you pursue the tested by Supco certification specifically?
Yeah, so I will tell you, we are huge Tested by Supco fans. So I'm going to get that out of the gate, and then I'll jump back to for as independent and third party testing is a must, and this is for everything from our science. We put it through independent, peer reviewed process. From our claims, we have independent third parties review the science and confirm that the claims we make for Fatty 15 are backed by competent and reliable scientific evidence, or CARS. So we ensure third parties validate that. And just as importantly, perhaps most, is to be able to show that what we have in our bottle, what we say is in Fatty 15, is there. There is no higher standard than Tested by Supco. We were so excited to be invited into this program to truly have it independently tested by independent. I don't need to be preaching this to you, but for those watching, independent means that it is bought anonymously. We don't so we did not hand Supco the ingredient and say, test this. You went and bought it independently, tested it, used the highest labs to be able to quality labs to be able to test, make sure it fit within the 95% accuracy of what we said. And obviously we were thrilled, not surprised that we passed and are Tested by Supco certified. This is the standard that all supplements should follow, and is a great guide for consumers, regardless of what supplement you're taking. Please, please, please use Supco as your first stop.
Getting the validation, getting the science, getting everything behind it is so important. There's always going to be a bit of a gap between what the science supports and then maybe what the consumers want to believe or what they think or what they take away from it. Where do you help draw the line on the claims that you actually make as far as C15 is concerned?
Right. So for us, that's where using this independent third party to review, these are scientists that are well versed in the space. They independently review the science supporting Fatty 15. They look at the claims that, we have made or are looking to make. And it's this third party who says, okay, these claims are backed by competent and reliable scientific evidence. So these CARS claims are our core claims that we use. We do get excited and are happy to hear when customers are reporting what we call delight and surprises beyond our core CARS claims. And they actually help things like people report better sleep, calmer mood, and like less joint pain pretty reliably. So we really use those, Jordan, as an impetus or a seed for clinical trials. And so clinical trials are ongoing to be able to put those types of claims to the test. So we'll share them as far as part of a consumer survey, but they go into the bucket of like, you know what, this looks like it could have some traction. We have some science behind it. Let's put it to the test with a clinical trial.
So I love that. I mean, as a scientist myself, I am always a big fan of the concept of not overstating your claims, but also being very open and interested in where things can go. And it sounds like you guys have a really interesting process for that, which I love. One thing I want to touch on, you guys have this concept of healthy aging for all, this vision that really spans all life stages, infants to elderly. If C15 deficiency is as widespread as the data suggests, as you're saying, what does this mean for like the grand scope of what you guys are trying to do?
Right. And so when we talk about exactly this healthy aging for all, when we think about healthy aging, we tend to think about 45 plus. Like when we start breaking down, feeling those aches and pains of aging, and then, you start looking for a healthy aging supplement. What we have really come to recognize, especially with C15, is that aging starts from the moment we're born, and healthy aging starts at that point. We are seeing children getting diseases, chronic diseases of their grandparents before their parents. They have accelerated aging, and it's a national, a global emergency, calls to action, specifically in the areas of type 2 diabetes and fatty liver disease. So when we started understanding more and more science emerging that these C15 deficiencies, as kids are getting less whole fat dairy, full fat dairy products, not having healthy or good food sources of C15, that the ability to supplement, and this is the whole intent originally of supplements, right? Is to supplement our diet with nutrients that we can't get enough of. So vitamin C deficiency and scurvy, and vitamin D deficiency and rickets. This is that opportunity, rare opportunity, where we can help have a supplement be part of the solution, as well as with proper nutrition, to help fix this emerging deficiency and truly have a positive impact from children, from babies, all the way up to our oldest years. So it's a gift that the Dolphins gave us. We take it very seriously, and are obviously continue to follow the science. Excited to have brought Fatty 15 to the world.
I love that you make that nod to a supplement is exactly that, a supplement. It's not meant to replace the diet, but more so to help amplify or replace what we may be missing from the diet. And I think that's something we miss in supplements a lot in this space. And I think that's a great note and a great reminder for people. And so for people that are taking Fatty 15 every single day, what do you want them to understand about what went into making this product? What's the thing that they should know that really never makes it onto the label?
Yeah, the absolute highest bar for everything. Jordan, there's no compromise for us with regard to, hopefully we've gotten across in this wonderful conversation, there's no compromise with regard to the quality, with regard to the science, with regard to how we bring fatty 15. We talk about the claims around fatty 15. It's the absolute highest bar. The consumers are appropriately demanding science-backed quality ingredients. I was shocked to learn how many supplements don't even have the ingredients that they say. Shocked. I thought it was about the quality of the ingredient. Had no idea how many supplements, until we started working with Supco, how many supplements don't even have what they claim to have in it. So I'm very excited to be able to share that, for us, that every step of the way is we hold the highest bar. There's no compromise, and we're thrilled that folks like Supco and Trusted by Supco certification helps for companies who do that to be able to prove ourselves out.
And Steph, before I let you go, I have a personal question for you. What is one supplement that you cannot live without? And what is the one supplement you think is flying under the radar that you wish more people knew about? And you can't say Fatty 15.
Well, so I have to tell. So I actually, there are no other supplements I routinely take. Of course, I take Fatty 15 every day. I try really hard, Jordan, to be able to get as much of my nutrition from my food, but I think it's truly an individual journey for everybody. And that, to me, the guidance is to try supplements that you think you need. And then to see if you feel or see a benefit within 3 to 6 months, right? That follow along with what the claims are stating. Fatty 15 isn't going to work for 100% of the people. This is the same for all supplements. So it's really finding your own journey with regard to supplements. I've been doing great with Fatty 15, but I think what flies under the radar is more of individuals being able to find which supplements they really need for them versus just kind of taking something for a long time just because you think you should, or not taking supplements because you think you have everything covered. So I should follow my own advice, I guess.
I love it. I think that's perfectly well said. Dr. Stephanie Venn-Watson of Fatty 15, thank you so much for being here. This has been fantastic.
Great, Jordan. It's been such a joy.